afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Safari Live here at Djuma and Arathusa Game Reserves in the world-famous Sabi Sands down here in South Africa. What a beautiful way to start the afternoon, hey, on this bull elephant. Just getting a bit of cool water splashed over him there. We just came around the corner and there he was, and he's just given us a bit of a treat. He looks beautiful, shining like that in the sunshine. My name's Hayden Turner, and I've got Andrew here on camera with me. Fantastic to have Andrew on board. If I haven't met you before, I used to be here in November last year with Pieter Pretorius, and we've come back for a little bit of a visit and to do some drives, and it's an absolute privilege. So absolutely fantastic to be here. Remember, Safari Live is all about interactivity. It's about us interacting with you and you being able to connect with us here live in South Africa. So if you've got any questions you want to ask us, you can tweet us at #SafariLive, or you can email us at questions@wildearth.tv. Now, you can probably see by the way I'm squinting, the sun's beating down at the moment here. It's 33 degrees Celsius, sorry. And the elephant's just starting to move around to this buffalo here. While I give you this little bit of information, 33 degrees Celsius, about 91 degrees Fahrenheit. There's a bit of a hot wind blowing, and I do see some sort of storm clouds over behind us. So we'll watch the weather. We'll keep you well informed about that. But isn't this just beautiful to see? What a great way to start. This beautiful, beautiful young bull. Now, he's far from fully grown, that's for sure. He's got a fair way to go, but he's a beautiful specimen, that's for sure. He's got just small tusks coming out. When he would be potentially at his full size, he could get up to about 6,000 kilograms, which is about, wow, I have to do my conversions quickly in my head, but let's go for about just over 13,000 pounds. And he would be potentially standing or anywhere between around 9 to 11 feet at the shoulder. Which, goodness, again, I have to convert that back the other way now. That's about 3.5 meters roughly, and he'll get to a very, very big size, and he will then start to do what elephants do and trail the herd, looking for females. He'll be spending most of his time either as in a bachelor group at this age probably. But we did have some information from our zoomies, our wonderful zoomies that manage our cameras all around the place, and thank you to you both for giving us some information that at about 2:15 today, right where we're sitting now, there was a beautiful breeding herd of elephant that came down to drink, and they've just gone up a road around to the left, which I'm going to follow up on just now. So this boy's just had his drink and splashed himself with a bit of mud, had a bit of fun. Obviously the buffalo know how to get out of the way. There's nothing really that challenges an elephant in the wild. Buffalo take a bit of a walk on, and he's just moving around the waterhole there. He might get another drink, or he might start to follow up that female, that breeding herd. Now, he could smell a female potentially in estrus in season, and if he does, he might trail behind that herd for some time until she gets into the perfect time for mating. But it's a beautiful sight to see that sun glistening on the water and that elephant all shiny there in the distance. We might move on, but great to have you on board, as I said. If it's your first time on Safari Live, it's a great journey that we do every single afternoon and every morning here on Djuma and Arathusa. And it's all about us getting out and just seeing what happens. It really is. The script is written by the bush itself. We don't have anything planned. Well, we have a little bit of a rough plan about where to go. I'm going to take you up this road now, but that's about it, really. And that's what's the fantastic thing. The animals and the wildlife, they dictate the script, and we just fit in. We're very, very privileged to be here, and I'm having a great time being back. Really wonderful to be interacting with everyone. Some people I know, as I said, and some people I don't. But it'll be great to get to know you over the next 3 hours, and hopefully you'll be hooked, like we all are on Safari Live, taking you on the biggest safari vehicle in the world. So there will be a bit of wind blow on the microphones today, folks. I do apologise in advance. We've got little wind gags over our microphones here and on our camera that cut out a little bit of that, but it is a very, very hot breeze blowing at the moment. So this time of the day, as we all know, we will be getting a situation where majority of the cats are flat. It's so hot, they'll be conserving their energy, and you will also find the elephants in the cooler parts under these big trees. But we might try and find that elephant herd, just because the zoomies, the wonderful zoomies, gave us a bit of a tip off here, and I can see elephant tracks along the road. A little bit hard to see in this light because the light's coming from directly above at the moment, but if I see a good one, we'll stop and we'll show you the different size in the elephant's feet as well. Some of you may know already that the back foot and the front foot have a different shape, and if I don't find a good example of that, I'm just looking out of the vehicle now. Sometimes it's easier just to show you on the iPad, just to give you an idea, and then when I find some good ones in the right spot, I can give you another look. But the right foot, the back foot and the front foot, quite different. The front foot's round, much rounder shape than the back foot. The back is an ovular shape, and you really do see the difference when the animal's walking, obviously, next to each other. How about we show you right now? That's a good idea, rather than just talking about it. Just coming to a stop here. I'll just quickly whip out the iPad whilst I'm doing it and just getting this app up for you. It's a really easy thing to see the spoor of an elephant, and there's a very unique fingerprint, or footprint I should say, much like ours, and it's a really great thing to compare animals. You can get okay, here we go, elephant, and that's the front foot, okay? I'm just going to hold that up there for you and try and get the reflection off, if I can. It's a bit tricky in this shot. That's a good image of the front foot. I've got to show you the back foot. I don't have a silhouette off it, but the back foot, if you can take the edges off that, is a much more ovular shape. Now the reason for that, so I just remove that now for you, it's just to give you a quick look. The reason for that is that the majority of the animal's body weight is on the front of its chassis. It's in the shoulders, it's in that massive head, that massive trunk, that massive skull, and a lot of the time massive ivory as well. And in the back end, it's a lot lighter. The elephant's skeletal or skeleton structure is like a honeycomb. If you look inside it, I'd love to be able to find a bone for you, and if I do, I'll definitely put it on the truck. The bone, if you look inside, it's like a honeycomb structure, and it's been designed, I suppose, if you want to, for want of a better word, to allow the animal to have a really good solid structure, but not have the weight of full solid bone. And very, very beautiful design, elephants. So I'm just keeping my eyes out for this breeding herd. Don't know if you can see down there now. I just want to get in Andrew into a position here, so bear with me, folks. See if you can get this, Andrew. It's a little bit of a tricky one, mate. But just on that tyre track there, if you get in there, can you see that, mate? Okay, just there. So that's an elephant track, and you can see it's the ovular shape of the back foot there, but you can see those tiny little cracks in it as well. Those tiny little cracks is that unique fingerprint. So a lot of scientists use different methods to track their animals. Obviously, when you get an animal visual, you can see by the ear notches and the holes and the little imperfections in the ear that it's picked up over time. But when you're tracking, obviously, you want to know what individual you are tracking. So that fingerprint, which is a footprint really, is a great way to do it. Now, these elephants have gone up this road and they have the spoor, the tracks still go up here. So I'm going to follow up. We do find that elephants do use the roads quite a lot. And I think Pieter might have touched on it earlier today, or it might have been yesterday. And he gave some background of that a lot of the roads through here are animal tracks or animal pathways that have been widened by vehicles or whatever it may be. We've still got those tracks going up the side of the road there. And you'll find that a lot of those roads are the most efficient, most effective way to get from A to B. Another complete sign that elephants have been through here, broken off this branch and just dropped it in the middle of the road. let's just see if we can come across them. Always can't guarantee because it's so hot. They might drop down into a little drainage line to get into a bit cooler area, but we'll do our best and see what we can find. Great to have you on board. Very exciting to be back for Pieter and I and the team, and just want to thank everyone for being so wonderful again, and Nikki and Tara in Final Control directing, so big hats off to them. They're doing a fantastic job coping with me getting back in the saddle and getting used to it again, and all the support. So they could have peeled off anywhere here. Scanning around here, just looking to see through the vegetation. One of the things I always find, folks, about elephants is that they are obviously, everyone knows, they're the biggest land mammal on the planet, but they can disappear like that in this quite low vegetation. They really do blend in. That grey colour blends with the sort of the trunks of the trees and the broken branches, and it is very, very easy to lose an elephant herd, even in vegetation like this. So one has to keep their eyes open, and as I said, they could just drop down, we wouldn't even see them. And it's very thick country there to be driving through. If I do see them, I definitely will go off-road and go and visit them. We had a lovely encounter this morning, if you were with us, with a beautiful breeding herd of elephant. One of the females came up to within about 10 metres of our vehicle. We saw a couple of youngsters playing, and then right at the end of the morning we came across a youngster that was just born this year, so only like a few months old, still fitting under his mummy's belly. So what I might do, folks, is just while I'm looking here, I'll definitely come back to you, is cross over to Pete, see what he's up to. I know he was hot on Kanuma and trying to find out if there was any updates there. So why don't we go across to him? We'll see you just now.
Guys, very, very good afternoon, and warm welcome to the Jigga, warm welcome here to South Africa, Djuma Game Reserve, Naratusa Game Reserve in Sabi Sands. It is, as always, a pleasure to have you here, and I'm particularly excited to have you here. In fact, I'm going to stop quickly to welcome you properly. I'm particularly excited to have you with us because you can be with us where we are at the moment, and what I mean with that is not just a live game drive in the African bush, but a live game drive in a riverbed that up to yesterday I couldn't drive with the Jigga. We've got some new gear in the back, so it means that we can take you even further into the bush, get into some little nooks and crannies. Let me just turn the game drive down, that we couldn't before. And one of the areas we couldn't get into were these riverbeds. Because they're low down, it made it a little bit difficult for the broadcast, or effectively to get you here. So very excited. My name is Pieter, by the way. Brian behind the camera, Nikki and Tara in the control room, and we're looking forward to this afternoon a lot. Partly just because I can explore a couple of new roads. I love this little piece of road we're going to drive now. It's not really a road, you can see just looking at it. It's a little track down the sandy riverbed. It's one of my favorite places to drive on Djuma. It's beautiful. You've got big trees, we've got massive jackalberries. I've seen the leopard in almost all of them over the years. We are going to see some other leopards in some of the other big trees as we go along. You get interesting elephant behavior in here, and it is just fun to drive in them. So that's a little highlight for me personally, and it's always a highlight if I can take people along and share it with them. So looking forward to that. We had Kunyuma this morning, beautiful male leopard, one of my favorites. We have a bit more information now. I spoke to Tex and Aubrey, the other guides. I'll fill you in on that a little bit later in the drive. In fact, I might even show you something if it's still around. And yeah, just fantastic to have you here. Elephant, Hayden had an elephant bull. We saw some ellies further back. We left them for now. We know where they're heading. We're going to try and catch up again. So elephants certainly around. Leopard we're hoping for. Lion as always. And then the most exciting thing, the thing that people come to the bush for, we're definitely going to experience this afternoon. And that is the fact of surprise. You're driving around, you're coming around a bend, and there's something you didn't expect to see. And that happens always. Even if it is just a nice sunset, or for me this afternoon, to be able to drive into the riverbed and be able to take you along. So that is always, for me personally, and I'm sure for many, many of you, the joy of being in Africa and being on Game Drive is that experience of just the unexpected and just enjoying the beautiful nature around us. So let's go look around. So that's basically what I'm thinking about at the moment, other than all the things we're looking for, all the things we can see. But it's just the fact that we can drive here. Since a little boy, driving down a sandy riverbed in a 4x4 has always been one of my great pleasures and joys, and I love being able to do it here. Look at this lovely Jackalbach leadwood tree on the right hand side here. Big knobthorn in the back, and the tree on the right hand side, this one is a leadwood tree. This particular one would be at least 300, 400, 500 years old by now, maybe older. They can live 1,000 years or more. They can stand another 1,000 years after they've died because the wood is so hard. Nothing eats it, termites don't break it down. Hence leadwood, or ironwood is also what they call. I just love this piece of the riverbed. It's so pretty and sort of expecting to find something at any minute. It feels like there's a surprise and adventure around every corner. So very happy to be able to bring you down here. And it's beautiful. Just look at it. It's gorgeous. Roll along. Twin Dam is not too far from here. Well guys, if you've been away for a minute or two, we've just been driving down this absolutely beautiful riverbed lined by stunning trees, of which maybe this is one of the best examples. And when you draw a tree as a kid, it's got 2 legs and 2 arms and a head. And you draw a tree as a kid, they look a lot like this. You've got a big trunk and this beautiful sort of symmetrical crown to it. And this is a beautiful jackalberry tree. I have seen leopard in it. I'd never drive past this tree without looking for leopard in it again. But it's also got a very descriptive name. A jackalberry tree has these berries on it, and it's one of the few trees that doesn't have a specific season for fruiting. You get the fruits throughout the year sometimes, and many animals eat it, not just jackals. For a second there I thought maybe Brian had spotted a leopard and he was just going to surprise us. Not impossible. I've driven in this riverbed. In fact, I'll show you the tree just now. It's 2 trees from here, where we drove under the tree, and for some reason I had a tracker with me. His name was Rodney. He looked back and he was like, whoa, 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 and there were 2 leopards up in the tree that we'd just driven underneath. So it can happen. But these fruits from the jackalberries, many animals eat them. Jackals, obviously, as you may have guessed from the name of the tree, but also birds. You know, you get green pigeons, this beautiful pigeon. It's a lovely sort of a, oh, I don't even know how to describe it, like a powder green color. Beautiful birds, lories, monkeys, baboons, bushbuck, warthogs, kudu. Everything come and eat these berries at some stage or another. They're also evergreens, so they're fantastic shade trees throughout the year. And one of my other favorite trees. A couple of minutes ago we were talking about the leadwood. And as I was saying just now, just up this little bank, we've got twin dams. We can have a look at twin dams, and then I'm actually going to get back into the riverbed. Let me just show you actually, Brian. If we just look down the riverbed, you can see where the tracks go. Those 2 trees hanging over the riverbed, those 2 sort of lush green ones, those were the ones we drove underneath them, and looking back we saw a leopard lying up in the branches literally above where we'd driven. So you must always look around carefully. Quite a few flies out this afternoon as well. It's quite hot, overcast. In fact, it looks like maybe some rain in the distance. So a very dramatic, exciting afternoon in the bush. Look at those clouds. We're going to come driving back down this riverbed and see what we can find. There's something I saw earlier I want to show you. Guys, also remember you can always send questions, hashtag Safari Live if you're tweeting or just want to chat via the tweets, or mail it, that's electronic mail, not by post, to questions@wildearth.tv. Beautiful scene here. Twin Dams. We will be here a few times this afternoon. I'm expecting that Kunyuma, that male leopard we saw this morning briefly, when he proceeds with his afternoon's activities, I'm expecting him to come and drink here. So we will be visiting here a few times. In the meantime, got quite a nice herd of buffalo here. All bachelors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 I think at a quick count. A dozen of them. And they're just doing what buffalo like to do this time of the day. Taking it easy in the mud and the water, keeping cool. We're going to sit here a few minutes, just enjoy the view. You can hear there's a bit of wind blowing. I will show you that sky again. I know Brian's also keen to show you. It's beautiful sky this afternoon, so really exciting afternoon. I'm looking forward to it. Annie from Durban. Hello Annie, always nice to have people from sort of closer around the corner on the vehicle with us as well. Annie's just asking those trees we were just talking about. We just talked about the jackalberry. Also referred to as the ebony sometimes. Look at that sky. Summer in Africa. And just before that, some of you might have missed it, but Annie was referring to the leadwood tree, also called correctly, Annie, as you mentioned there, ironwood. In Afrikaans we call it a harde kool, meaning a very hard coal, because it makes very, very good coals for braaiing or for heat. Annie was asking if that's the wood used for making railway sleepers. And I'm sure in the early days of railways they probably would have used it. It certainly is hard enough. Although the typical wood used for is Rhodesian teak. 99% of wooden railway sleepers. Of course, these days many railway sleepers are made from either iron or some places also from concrete or cement. But the older days, there where I live in Walvis Bay, we still manage to track them down quite often. You get these old railway sleepers, Rhodesian teak, absolutely beautiful wood. Hard as nails. You can say the same thing about these guys. Buffalo, you could compare them to a leadwood tree rather than a baobab. Solid, timeless almost, tough. And I know at the moment most of the buffalo we're seeing, the big breeding herds, I was talking to some of the guides last night, we got together with them just to sort of say hello and catch up a bit, and they're saying the big breeding herds have moved further east. They might come back again, but for the while we're seeing mostly these sort of dagga boys or bulls. It's tricky to watch birds because you have to be able to get close enough to see them. Brian, is that lure is just too far, huh?
Where about?
Just in front of the buffalo on the water line.
Oh, there.
Yeah, just no, I see it fairly well. That's a grey lurie. A lot of bird names every few years change a little bit. It's now referred to as a go-away bird. Grey luries are one of the birds that would eat jackalberries. Grey luries, purple-crested luries, we see them sometimes here, beautiful birds. Green pigeons, like I mentioned. And yes, Diana and Robin were asking about jackalberries. As I said, lots of animals eat them, lots of birds eat them. Humans do eat them, but they're not that great. It's not something that people really sort of make a meal from, if you want, like marulas, for instance. Marulas are actually actively collected by people still today for the fruit, for the nut, different uses for it. Whereas jackalberries are not, the food value of it is not that high for us that can eat, all kinds of easy commodities these days. But for an animal out there, for a grey lurie or for a monkey or a baboon or something like that, it is a great source of food and also taste. It's got sugar in it. We all know what sugar is like. It tastes good. Which one was that? Just had a few comments there regarding the one buffalo looking like the tail tip's missing. It might have just been sort of cramped up or rolled up a little bit. Can't see one with a missing tail now, although seeing buffalo with missing tails is fairly common. Yeah, I think the tail was just tucked away there. Buffalo, zebra, those are probably the two most common ones to see without tails. And it's because lions hunt them, and lions sometimes jump on their hindquarters, and buffalo or zebra, I've seen it happen, it's quite spectacular to see. They can kick lions off as well. I've seen it twice, once with the buffalo kill where the lions were being sort of thrown around, and once with the zebra kicking the lion a good solid kick in the chest. So they can kick them off, but sometimes in the process, because they're grabbing onto the tails, they can lose it. Oh, this one, I see what you mean. The tail is there, but the sort of the tip of the tail, if you want, the little hairy bit of it is gone. So that was probably, or most likely, from lions. I don't see major scars, probably from long ago. If it was more recent, you would see scarring on the back of the animal as well. I'm going to take a couple of minutes here. It's a lovely view, nice bird activity. You've got the blacksmith plover in the back there, or lapwing, buffalo, nice breeze blowing, which is quite cool. We'll go another question or two. Just going to take a few minutes and just enjoy the setting. Good afternoon, Jerry. I'm asking on Twitter there, where do these animals get their water from when it dries up? A very good question, Jerry. It's a very practical question, one that actually plays a very big role in the game viewing experience. The numbers of game seen, the species of game seen in this part of the world, especially when it's a bit drier now. We were talking this morning, Brian and myself, at Buffelshoek Dam, that Buffelshoek Dam, for instance, Hayden's going to go there later on. You will see it on drive if you stay with us for a while. And Buffelshoek Dam is one of the bigger ones and keeps water normally to the last. So when the other waterholes start drying up, for instance, this one, Twin Dams, if I had to guess it, looking at it now, unless we get some rain, I mean, just looking at this afternoon, there might be some rain on the way. But if there's no more rain coming, which is possible, we are at the end of the rain season, then Twin Dams, my estimate here would be another 8 weeks, maybe 2 months. May, June, by July, latest end of July, this will be dry. Gari waterhole in front of Voitela Lodge, I would give maybe 3 months, 4 months at the most. So by the time that it's sort of in the middle of winter and it's very dry, then the animals will have to flock to where there is water, and they'll cover big distances for that. Even more so once it's sort of early summer before the rains, any remaining water sources will be very popular. Big permanent rivers in Kruger, big waterholes in this part of the world will draw massive numbers of game. So the game drives this year will be spectacular as it goes more and more into winter. And the good life, though. Worst ways to spend the afternoon. And I'm talking about the buffalo and about us. That's a lovely view. trying to decide. I sort of feel like I can just sit here the rest of the afternoon.
It's very pleasant.
Yeah, it's very pleasant. There's a bit of a breeze blowing, some clouds blocking the sun. It's cool. It's been very, very hot earlier today. And sort of hot in that sort of clammy, getting ready for rain kind of way. There you can see the clouds. That's looking towards the west now. Got a beautiful herd of buffalo. I've got a, I'd give it a 75% chance that we will find a leopard at this waterhole with a bit of luck, because you have to be there when it happens. But I think Nkunyuma will come and drink here later on towards sunset. Nice bit of bird life. So we could easily spend the afternoon and have a very, very good afternoon. But at the same time, it's the benefit of having a fantastic game drive vehicle that's been built for us. Probably the best vehicle in the world for doing what we're doing. So we are going to drive around. I want to take you down that riverbed again that I spoke of earlier. I saw something. It's not something massive, not something great, but something really interesting. I think you'll enjoy it. So I want to go show you that. We are going to come back here. We're going to sort of circle back and forth a few times. We will keep an eye on this waterhole and see what else is out there. HT is also cruising around. He's heading up to Buffelshoek Dam, another big waterhole. So I've got a good feeling about this afternoon. Let's go take that riverbed. Hello, Mary. That's actually quite a cool question. I love questions that are specific to what's going on. And that was Mary made an observation, saw something, didn't quite understand it, or just found it curious, because this is quite a sort of a curious observation. And I asked the question. So, very great question. She's just asking, why do the buffalo curl their tails up at certain stages? Now, Mary, one thing I know is that Murphy loves game drives as much as any of us. So, it's not likely any buffalo is going to do that right now. But sometimes you get that just before they defecate. Other times you get that because they may be walking through the water and they don't want to get it wet, I guess. Other times I think they just do it because they can. And then sometimes you get it where it stays like it because they've broken it, maybe in a fight or running around in the herd or something like that. Oh, just look at that guy. Brian, a little bit more to the left. He was standing further back earlier. He looks like he's been built out of concrete. Look at him. He's got it all sorted out. Sun's not getting to him. He's got 100% sunscreen. That's a great question, Velma. Velma in Michigan is just asking if people ever eat buffalo meat. And I know this is a controversial discussion that we won't go into now, because some of you may eat meat, some of you may not eat meat, and all these different... Guys, let's just see how this other one did it. The on the left one is lying down now. Brian, I'm just going to roll forward. I think this twig is in your way. There we go. Look at this. This is the application to get yourself looking like the guy we just looked at. And buffalo love doing this. Firstly, foremostly, I think they do it because it's nice. They enjoy it. I've looked at them doing this. They're having fun. So I think that's their main motivation. The practical reason behind it, cools them down, gets rid of ticks and fleas and all those flies and things buzzing around them, can't get to their skin because they've got this layer of mud over them now. So the question there was just if people ever eat buffalo meat. Strangely enough, not that much. And there's a lot of explanations for that again, even though it's not a bad meat at all. Other venisons, eland is excellent meat, maybe as good or better than beef, leaner than beef, very healthy. And if more people ate more kinds of venison, you would actually... just for pure practical reasons, have more wild animals around. The pigs, cows, sheep are very numerous because they play an important role in the sort of food chain of humans. So in many ways, whichever way you might feel about eating meat or not, if we ate more venison, more variations of meat, there would be more variations of animals in abundance. But buffalo is very similar to beef. Yo, can you see those flies? Look at that. Looks like a cloud of them. It's one of the reasons why buffaloes might be a little bit testy sometimes. Can you imagine if you spend your whole day and you just always have a couple of thousand flies buzzing around you, trying to get into your ears, getting into your eyes. Ah, that must feel good. In fact, and this might be strange, but I look at it sometimes and I'm really hot and I think, you know what, that must actually feel nice. Obviously, you'll go for a swim afterwards, get rid of the mud again, but you can imagine if you're a big animal. This is a big bull. I was looking at him now. He's got big shoulders, strong built. He's probably 800-900 kilograms. That's 1,000, 6,000, 700, 1,800 pounds. Big buffalo. Look at that. So you get very hot. Look at him. Here's the wet mud buffalo and the dry mud buffalo. Both of them solidly built, big guys. That guy's doing something similar but different now, unless he's going to roll as well, but it looked like he was going to just roll his horns in the mud for a second there. Buffalo, especially the bulls, have to really take care of the horns, especially of those bosses. The bosses are those heavy shields, if you want, at the top of the skull. So the horns start on the skull, and actually, just for interest's sake, the difference between horns and antlers. Antlers, most of the deers that you get in North America, for instance, fall off and come back again. And it's a different construct, if you want, from horns, which you get with your antelopes and also with buffalo. This is actually part of the skull growth. So the horn is part of the skull, and then it's got this hairy layer, which is the sheath, if you want, that goes over the horns. And that's got to be looked after. The same as your fingernails. It's very, very similar, just much harder, much thicker in the case of buffalo. But you know what it's like. If you don't look after your fingernails, you know, they start looking like mine at the moment, which I was thinking of earlier. I need to get working on them. The same with these buffalo. They've got to work on those horns. They've got to maintain them day to day. Otherwise, they can get flaky and they can get cracked. So they do all kinds of maintenance on the horns, which this guy's still not doing. I was hoping if I talk long enough, he'd get into it. But I think he's just going to wallow. But they basically rub it in the mud, and then they do it very often. They rub it up against tree bark, up against tree trunks. Not only to scrape off or exfoliate the dead cells on the horns, but also to get oils into it. All those oils and liquids you get in tree bark is very, very good for the horns. Ah, there we go. Going for a fresh mud application. While we're sitting in such a great spot, I just want to see this bird here just to the left of the buffalo. I was just noticing him. He was coming a bit closer. This is called a blacksmith plover or a lapwing. We're going to talk about him more just now. I just want to quickly answer Max's question. Max, this is one of my favorite questions. Ask it again in the next few days if you want. And I've got to pick it up a little bit just for time. But Max is asking, what's my favorite month, or what's the best month to come to Africa? Max, any month. The first opportunity you get, the first day you can come to Africa, that's the best time. The second best time, in my opinion, I've always said May. I love the month of May, so I'm very excited to be here for that month. But it's very true what you say. As it gets drier, as the water holes get smaller, as water becomes less available, obviously that becomes a massive attraction. So winter, midwinter, end of winter, early summer is also very good for game viewing. But I truly, honestly believe the best time to come to Africa is whenever you can, as often as you can. Always been my answer, always will be. Right, so this little bird running around, I'm going to try and roll a bit closer because he's going back to what I wanted to talk about earlier, but then he sort of walked away before I could. Let's see if he does again. Come on, be a sport. Okay, now plovers, as I still call them, that's what I got to know them when I was younger. They're now called lapwings. They're insect eaters. And blacksmith plovers, they love being close to waterholes. Generally speaking, they're normally close to waterholes, otherwise nice open areas. Long legs, so they can run around in the shallow water. They can run around in tallish grass. Sharp beak for grabbing little insects. And opportunistic. Like all animals that hunt, you have to be opportunistic. You have to be able to take opportunities when they arise. One of the things they do, and I'm waiting for him to do it, but he's not doing it, or her, blacksmith plover, is very difficult. They look the same. There we're going back to the dung. That's the same pile of dung that I've noticed twice now. That looks like hippo dung. Now it's running away again. But hippo dung, elephant dung, rhino dung, all your hindgut fermenters, animals that leave sort of very coarse dung, in that dung you get a lot of insects making either their nests or laying their eggs or just getting moisture from it. And the plovers and many other birds use that opportunity to go and grab those insects from the dung. Stunning bird. They've got their name blacksmith plover or blacksmith lapwing, sorry, not lapwing, from two parts. One is they sort of look like they're wearing a leather apron, you know, like those heavy aprons blacksmith used to wear. But the other one is when they're flying. When they're flying, they sound like they're hitting an animal with a hammer. It goes ding, 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 ding. Not quite like that, but close enough. If we see one flying and it's calling, I'll let you know. But it sounds like a hammer and an anvil at a distance. It's difficult to leave, it's such a nice setting. He's making waves. Let's just imagine that. I mean, as humans, we've got so many luxuries around us, and that's great. You know, I'm a fan of luxuries at the right time, but the small pleasures in life. Imagine these buffalo. They've been hot the whole day. Now they can roll in the water. There's one walking straight through the water. 2, 3 of them in the back lying flat down in the water. They must enjoy this so much. A nice way to cool down. A little bit of grazing again later in the afternoon. They just seem so content. Being content and being happy, I think, is often not far removed from each other. Right, well, I think we're almost ready to move on. If you've maybe just joined us, we've been sitting here enjoying a beautiful afternoon at a waterhole. We've got this lovely setting of buffalo bulls just taking it easy around the water. If you've maybe just joined us for the afternoon game drive, this is live in the African bush down here in South Africa. My name's Pieter Pretorius. Brian on the vehicle with me. Always nice to be with Brian. And we've been having a good afternoon. HT started with a lion. We'll get there. HT started with an elephant earlier. We had this buffalo and we ended up staying with them longer than planned just because there's so much going on. They've been rolling and they're just sort of showing us how to sometimes just enjoy life. Just take it easy and enjoy the small pleasures. And I've been threatening to do so, so I think I'm going to do it now. I'm going to take you down a little drive down the drainage line, which we came up earlier, but I want to go back down it. There's something I want to show you. Nothing major, don't get excited about it, just something small. But noticed it earlier. Guys, we have to have one more look at this buffalo. Sorry, he's just great. In fact, I'm going to get a picture of him as well. He just has this great look of timelessness about him. I don't know, something very wild and rugged about him. Cheers, mister. One cool buffalo. Something